All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over adding lights to our cool honeycomb walls and our displays that we use the honeycombs for. I've seen a couple of you do some really cool displays with some figurines and everything. And I thought it would be good to show how to add lights to this, but not only to add lights, but to also hide the wires so you don't see wires going to your lights and everything like that. So over the past couple of weeks, I've been designing a couple of pieces like this and various other pieces like that in an attempt to help us hide the wires on the honeycomb organization shells. So if you have something cool like the flag or something like that that you really want to put lights or something on, let's find a way to get the wires there without really being seen, but also to add some light to it and everything. So in today's video, I'm going to go over all these little different pieces and parts that I made to help add lights to our honeycomb organization wall while hiding the wires, as well as some really cool diffusers that we can use in the same track and everything like that. So today's video, I'll go over all of the different little pieces that I made, how I made them in Fusion 360. I will have the Fusion 360 file as well as the STL file uploaded in Maker World, so you can remix the original Fusion 360 file, or you can just print out what I have made with this. This will be the first part of a two-part series. The first part will be all about adding the wires and the diffusers and getting our lights and everything set up. The second piece of it will be adding all of the wiring and doing all of that stuff. So I'll go over how to wire everything up, all the stuff that you need for that, as well as how you can control it from your computer or from your phone. And how I did this little light right here is going to be the same thing, but we'll actually have all of them connected into one power supply, and it will run all of the lights in the room, which will be really, really cool. We'll be able to do some really cool accents. Maybe, you know, the cool vase that I made in last week's video, we'll be able to put some lights on that in the future or something like that. So if all that sounds good, then sit back and relax and I'll get everything ready. All right, so let's take a look at the basic design of what I've done here. And here we just have a sample honeycomb wall with some connectors and everything. And what we'll need, right, is we're going to have a wire, you know, going horizontally and maybe even up vertically that we'll need to get to somewhere. And then we'll also, you know, need a place to put the LEDs and everything like that in here as well. And then, you know, maybe have a diffuser over the LEDs as well. So what I designed is a vertical piece that will accomplish both of those goals, as well as a horizontal piece that fits and it can make a corner. And I made some pieces for the corner for the cover, but what you'll see is the LED strip fits perfectly on there. And if we want to run wires through there, the wires run through there very well. So on the places where we want to have LEDs, we can put a diffuser on there, and this is clear PETG, or we can use just normal PLA as the diffuser as well. Or if we're just running wires, we can run our wire in here and then clip it down on there. So you will see that there's these clip into place. So I made little tabs on here, and I'll show all the dimensions and how I made all of these little pieces and everything. And again, I'll have the Fusion 360 file, so if you want to go in here and make your own, you can do that as well. But everything kind of clips into place and is held on there really, really well. And a couple of things you have to keep in mind how you're going to print this and the pieces that you have on there. If you don't want to print with supports, and right, you don't want to take supports out of all of these little places. So I'll show how I printed everything, and a lot of the design considerations took into account that we would need to print these without supports. So you'll see that you can have a 4-way connector there. I made a T, right, and you can black it out for the wires or that, as well as a 90-degree elbow. I have these as open-ended on both ends, and then one of them with one end closed for where it stops and everything like that. And I'll show you how in Bamboo Studio you can just change the length of this. So if you just need a length that's shorter than the ones that I have here, or a little bit longer or whatever, it's super easy to do that as well. So let's dive into Fusion 360, and we'll go over how I designed and made all of these things and the dimensions and everything that I used, so that you can either remix it or print it out for yourself. So let's go into Fusion 360. All right, so let's take a look at the vertical piece here and the designs behind that. So you'll see it's just a rectangle. There's a hexagon here. It's 6.6 is the value that you use in there. I'll show you that here in a minute. But you'll also see that there's just enough room. It's actually 1 millimeter for the diffuser or the cover to fit in under these tabs. This piece right here is 14 millimeters. There's a 1 millimeter gap there, and then the tabs are right there, but I'll show you that here in just a second. So let's go ahead and take a look at the sketches and show you all of the dimensions. All right, so here's the first two sketches here on the timeline, and the first one is a rectangle, and then the hexagon here. So like I said, this is 14 millimeters wide, and I believe we can edit it here, 165.5 millimeters long. And this is important because this will butt up against the other one whenever you make them vertical. And then these are spaced. Let's see if we can edit this sketch as well. So you'll see I use 6.6 for the value, and then these are 5.25 millimeters away from the edge, and this edge is parallel to this edge right here. And then the center point of this is in the very center of the 14 millimeters right there, and these are in line with each other on there. So the next thing that we needed to sketch, well, we'll need to finish that sketch. And we'll go ahead and take that away, is to put these little squares right here. And that's, like the backstop for where the diffuser or the cover hits, so it doesn't go all the way over this thing. So it has a place to hit. And there's 2 millimeters is important right here. So it does need to have an overhang of 2 millimeters right there. And the reason for that is we're going to use this outside 1 millimeter to make the tabs to hold everything in. So the diffuser or the cover will fit in this first millimeter right here, and then these tabs are out here to catch it, and then this square connects it back to the rectangle here. So let's go ahead and move this all the way and go ahead and show the finished product so you see what I'm talking about. So I just extruded this all the way down and then cut out 2 pieces right there so it would turn into tabs. So now you'll see that gap right here is where the diffuser or the cover will fit in there, and it snaps all together. So that's how I made that one. So let's take a look at the horizontal, and I'll show you the few changes that has. All right, so here's the horizontal mount. And the first thing to notice is it is shorter than the other one. And then the orientation of the hexagon, you'll see that this edge is now parallel to the bottom and not to the side over here. So everything else is basically the same. You know, you have the 2 millimeter gap right there, and then 1 millimeter to make the little tab things. This one I didn't put with 3 since it's shorter. I just put 1 on each side, and that seems to work really well. And then let's go over the sketch here. And I'll show you the dimensions of all of this. So it's 149 millimeters long, 14 millimeters wide, just like the other one, 6.6 on the hexagon, and then from the center to the edge is 13 millimeters on each one, and that puts these in the perfect position across. You can make these as long or as short as you want or whatever, but keep in mind that the spacing here I believe is 123 millimeters, but it was easier to do 13 millimeters off the side here. And then same thing, here's the little tab, and then all of that was just extruded out into the final product. Finish the sketch. And there's the finished product. So now let's look at the diffusers. All right, so here's one of the diffusers, and this one has the closed end on it. There's another one that has an open end, but all the dimensions are exactly the same. It just doesn't have this closed end right here. So for this one, we can go in here and take a look at the sketches. And 165 is the length on this. So just like the vertical mount, you could change the length of it in here, but there's an easier way to change the length in Bamboo Studio, so I'll show that. And then the width of these diffusers, and we'll see on the other little connecting pieces, is all going to be 16 millimeters. So if you remember, there's 14 millimeters for the vertical and horizontal mount where it slips over. So there's 14 there in the center. And then we need 1 millimeter is the thickness of everything kind of in every direction. So everything's 1 millimeter. And that's why we made the gap between the tab and the block on the vertical and horizontal mounts, right? So this 1 millimeter will fit in and snugly snap into the tabs that we made as well. So I made the square 165 by 16 and then just did an offset of -1 to bring this offset in, and then just, you know, extruded everything out and then just cut away one end right there. So that's what we'll see there. So let's go ahead and finish the sketch. And we'll open this back up. So as you can see, 1 millimeter thick here, 1 millimeter thick here, 1 millimeter thick here, and this is extruded up 14 millimeters. So the total height is 15 millimeters. That's not super critical, but that's what this one is. So remember that this wall is up 14. This is a thickness of 1 for a total of 15 millimeters. All right, so the diffuser was made that way, and then there's another one that doesn't have an opening here. And you could do several things with this and put, you know, other connections in the middle or whatever. But I have one of these that is open-ended on both ends, and then this one, as you can see, is closed on this end. So now let's take a look at some of the connectors. All right, so we'll look at how I made the 4-corner one, but all of the, you know, the 90 degree, the T are all made the same way, except for, you know, I didn't draw out all of this. And the easiest way to make these, I think, is whenever you go into the drawing mode is to select this line right here. So I just started at the origin and went up 15 millimeters, over 16 millimeters, down 15 millimeters, over 15, 16 wide, and then did an offset of everything and then just cut out each of the holes there. So as you can see, that's how I made the 4-way, and that's the exact same way that I made the T and the corner and everything. And what these are used for is to connect whenever, you know, you have a horizontal coming in. Maybe you want to run wires out both ways, or, you know, all 3 ways to get to something. Or, you know, you may have a whole LED, you know, pattern that you're trying to make where you need all of these. So these can either be used to cover wires or could be used as a light diffuser as well. So now let's go into how to print all of this stuff. All right, so let's take a look at this in Bamboo Studio. This is the vertical mount. You can tell with the 3 tabs on one side. I'm doing it in white here so we can easily see it. This is the orientation that I printed in, and it doesn't need any supports. Now this underside right here isn't the smoothest thing in the world without supports. But I don't use supports at all. And I use my setup here, which is basically everything is the standard except enable support is unchecked and no brim is selected there. Otherwise, it's the standard setup, and I just use that as my own setup. Everybody always asks what my settings are. I'll go through here, but it's all the standard stuff. I haven't really changed anything here. And same with the filaments and everything. I'm going to be printing everything with bamboo filament here. Most of these I'm printing in the black filament here. And then the diffusers, I'm using the white and the clear PETG here. But this is the vertical one, and it's the same thing for the horizontal. So here is the horizontal mount in there. You'll see it's a little bit shorter than the other one, but I print it in the same orientation, and it prints just fine. So that's how to print those. Let's create a new plate here and show how to do the diffusers. All right, so here's the open diffuser on both ends right there. And this I've printed in both white, you know, the basic white here, as well as the clear. And you saw in the beginning video what the clear turned out. It's not completely clear, but it looks like it will let more light pass through. So in the next video, when we wire everything up and have the lights going and everything, we'll see which one looks better. But I have half printed with this and half printed with the white. And then for the covers, right? So if we need to cover wire, then we can just make those black. Or, you know, whatever color. If you want it to blend into your honeycomb wall, you can make that whatever color that you want. And that'll hide the wires and everything like that. And same thing on here, same setup, no support, no anything like that. Just clone as many as you can fit on the tray there, or you're comfortable printing on the tray, and then print those out. And then same thing for the T, the 4 corner, and the 90. So same thing, you know, you can print these in any color as well. And these will be all of the connectors that you need to connect all of your vertical and horizontal mounts and everything. So whenever we stack everything together, these can, you know, help you branch off or cover over, or, you know, do a 90-degree turn, or have multiple branches and whatever. So you can continue to, you know, build plates with all of the different pieces that you would need. I would recommend printing these on the same plate, all of these diffusers on the same plate, and then I mixed and matched all of these on that plate as well, on the same plate as well, and printed a whole bunch of them out. So it did take a few days to print everything that I needed, but I think it's well worth it. So now let's take a look at how to put all this stuff together. All right, so let's put this together loosely, how we might want to put things up on the wall, right? So we might have some horizontal ones going across that are running our wire. And what I've found is it's pretty easy to get it started by putting the wire in there. And then we can clip it right on there. And we'll leave a little space over there because we'll want to use a 90 to bring it up vertically. So we'll put our vertical piece right there, and that fits in perfectly. And then on our vertical piece, right, we would have our LED strip. And maybe that's where we made the connection for the wire, is right there where that 90 is. So then this piece just clips over it like so. And then we can put another vertical piece, and keep running our LEDs down, and then snap the diffusers in like so. So you'll see the difference between the basic white and the clear, and we'll test that whenever we do all of the wiring and everything. But you can go around and do all of that, and if you wanted to branch off of here, you could put a T in any of these or a corner or whatever and connect this however you want. And maybe you want to put another horizontal one right here, and run something off of that. You'd be able to do that, or like that, and run another LED strip there, or however it is that you want to do. So really, you can do a lot with this. I welcome you to remix any of this if you think you have a better idea for design. I'm definitely no engineer and no expert in Fusion 360, but this seems to look like it'll work and do what I want it to do, to add some light to the Honeycomb, wall organization that we have like this. So get out there and print everything that you need for this, and start thinking of how you might wrap this around your flag or whatever design that you have up there. If you have some models that you have that you want to run some lights to, use this to channel the wire there, so you don't have to do it. So in next week's video, we'll be going over the electronics. So I'll go ahead and give you a sneak peek of some of the electronics that you will need. All right, so some of the things that we're going to need are a power supply, and I'll leave a link in the description of this video as well as the next one for all of this stuff on Amazon. But we will need a power supply. We'll need a plug to give the power supply power. We'll obviously need LED lights, and these ones are really good because there's a very little distance between each of the lights, which works out really well. This is a bunch of color of wire that is hard, core wire, solid core wire or whatever, which makes it easier. You'll need these little boards here, and we'll route some wires around to wire everything up. And this stuff works really well for that versus stranded wire. Works on this stuff, but it's a little bit harder to do. We'll also need one of these ESP8266s, or a D1 Mini is what this one is, and this one has Wi-Fi and everything on it. So we'll be making the connections with the board and with our LED wires, and this is really what controls everything. And with that, you need this little logic level shifter, and this will help to run the signal further distances or whatever. And then we'll take a look at how to wire all of this up, and how to use power injection, and how to wire this up to the board and everything. So I'll leave a link in the description for all of this, but you'll also need a soldering iron and all of that. I'll leave a link for the soldering iron that I use and all of that stuff. But in next week's video, we'll be using this stuff to wire everything up, and then we'll be able to log into this little controller here and be able to control all the lights, pixel by pixel, or individual light by individual light. So be sure to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss next week's video. And I'll see everybody next week. Thank you.